Honorable Professor R.P. Rai, Head and Life School BHU, respected Professor Ajen Srivastava, esteemed colleague and dear viewer of today's lecture, warm welcome and very good afternoon to all of you. Dear friends, as you all are aware that Current Law Forum is an academic platform which from its starting day is continuously organizing lectures, discussions and deliberation on the relevant topics of the law, as well as the interdisciplinary subjects. Nowadays, when the entire world is under pandemic attack, it was too difficult for us to organize any lecture. That's why the Current Law Forum, BHU, has created its own YouTube channel for continuing that practice. The forum organized its first online event on 5th June with the special lecture delivered by Professor Ali Mehdi on the occasion of World Environment Day. In this lecture series today, the committee of Current Law Forum invites an eminent and distinguished scholar of the international law, Professor Ajen Srivastava ji, to deliver a lecture on the topic Free and Fair Trade, Contemporary Context and Way Forward. Dear friends, whenever we talk about the trade, the first things which comes in our mind, that is money. It is extremely true that we can't purchase each and everything by the money, but it is also true that we can purchase most of things by it. The God is ultimate, no doubt, but with the money power we can extend the span of our life. This topic which we have chosen is directly related with the concept of liberalization, privatization and globalization. Actually, free trade policy refers to a trade strategy which entails bilateral and multilateral agreements between two or more countries that allow unrestricted export and imports of the goods. This policy provides freedom within the international trade market for focusing on removal of restriction, tariffs and the regulation placed on the import and export of the goods by any country. This is done with the goal of enhancing efficiency of global market and improving the overall economic growth of involved nation, along with the making goods and service cheaper. This is done with the goal of enhancing the efficiency of global market and improving the overall economic growth of involved nation, along with the making goods and service cheaper. The key advantage of the free trade may be elaborated in three directions. Firstly, it encourages the international competition and an easy access of goods and services at very lower cost to the consumer. Secondly, when consumers have simple access to the high quality of imported products at lower costs, the local businessmen will be bound to focus on their attention on producing qualitative goods in which they are more specialized. Thirdly, if the countries are focused on their own specialization, it will grow demand for local goods and services, leading the more export, more local jobs, and definitely it will increase the economic growth. It reflects that if free trade will be promoted, the goods will be get cheaper, but it will be get cheaper on the cost of certain trade violation and exploitation of the labor. At this time, the concept of fair trade comes into the picture. The main goal of the fair trade is to reduce exploitation in the trade market, reduce violation to the human right and also the principles of environment. This is done by the securing rights of marginalized group through better wages and the improvement of the working condition. Thus, there are two concepts which are involved in the today's lecture. The concept of free trade looks to remove tariff and regulation for a hurdle-free trade, but the fair trade is intended to create equity within the global market and protection of the workers' interest. Both the concepts are having their own benefits, their own limitation and their own repercussions also. Which concept will be more fruitful to our India, which concept will be more beneficial to our India? Professor Ajen Srivastava is with us, who will discuss these issues in detail. With these words, I very humbly invite Professor R.P. Rai sir for his welcome address.
This is matter of great pleasure that Current Law Forum is organizing today a virtual lecture on the topic of free and fair trade in the contemporary context. The lecture will be delivered by Professor Ajay Srivastava, who is specialized in international law and is aware of the nuances of international trade law. His lecture will focus on the usefulness of the idea of free and fair trade when we are facing the biggest human crisis in the recent history. But every crisis also opens door to the opportunity. We can turn this crisis into an opportunity by plugging the gaps in our system based on the philosophy of globalization of economics and societies. In this time of crisis, we need to rethink our policies and principles on which present world order is built. Now there is a need to become self-reliant in respect of essential products. As the lecture by Professor Srivastava will show that a country which is totally dependent on imports from the trading country is most vulnerable. In view of this, there is need to look ahead, to prepare ourselves to fight the crisis. I hope the lecture will try to find answers to some of the most perplexing questions of our time. With these words, I now request Professor Ajay Srivastava, who is eminent personality in the field of international law, to deliver his lecture. I also congratulate Professor Rajneesh Kumar Patel, who is coordinator of the Current Law Forum, for this wonderful initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor R.P. Rai sir. Now I invite Professor Ajay Srivastava for his today's lecture.
At the very outset, I would like to express my gratitude to our Honorable Dean for his encouragement and support. I would also like to thank Professor Rajneesh Kumar Patel, coordinator Current Law Forum, for organizing virtual lectures during the time of pandemic on the topics of contemporary relevance. Much kudos to him for this wonderful initiative. I am thankful to him and his team, Current Law Forum, members of the Current Law Forum, for giving me the opportunity to express my views on the topic of contemporary relevance. Before I proceed any further, let me tell you something about the context within which our discussion will take place. Context refers to the world with COVID-19. As Ferguson, a noted economic historian, told last month that it is better to imagine a world with COVID-19 rather a world post-COVID-19. For him, as it is very difficult to return to pre-COVID-19 era, we should prepare ourselves accordingly. Similar view has been expressed by many virologists who say that the virus is going to stay for a quite long time until we develop herd immunity or we get vaccines, although the chances are great that we are going to get vaccine very soon. But the point is that still we cannot rule out the possibility of an outbreak of a fresh pandemic. Therefore, we need to prepare ourselves accordingly. The present pandemic is the biggest human crisis in the last 100 years or so. It is the biggest health crisis in the last 100 years. It is the biggest economic crisis since the Great Depressions of 1930s, and it has also serious implications for society and the environment. In the form of this pandemic, we have witnessed the emergence of a new kind of transboundary problem or transborder problem. The point is that when we are facing this pandemic, we are realizing that we are vulnerable if we are living in a world which is highly integrated. We are vulnerable if we are living in a highly integrated society of nations. A country is vulnerable if it is dependent on other countries for the supply of goods. A country is dependent if it is importing goods from outside. The pandemic has made us realize that we need to rethink our model of development. It has shaken our belief in capitalism. It has shaken our belief in globalization, and it has shaken our belief in the idea of free and fair trade. It is not that globalization is bad as such. Globalization as such is bad. It is not that capitalism as such is bad. It is not that free and fair idea of free trade is bad as such. The problem is that if so long we are focusing on growth only, we are focusing economic growth only, we are focusing on economic growth only, ignoring the human development, then we as a society are vulnerable. The point is that it is the human being that should be at the center of concern. Focus should not be only on the machine, but focus should be on the human being. In the light of when we are facing this crisis, we need to. My point is that we need to rethink and revisit those principles on which the existing world order is based. And it is in this context that I am going to discuss the idea of free trade, because free trade presupposes a highly integrated world. Free trade means that international trade between states, free movement of goods and services across the borders with fewer governmental restrictions or no governmental restrictions. Free trade supposes that there is a free movement of goods and services across the borders without any restriction, without any barriers. In other words, free trade is about barrier-free trade. It is opposed to the idea of a protected trade. In a protected trade, what happens? That a state is imposing barriers, imposing restrictions on the import from outside. That is known as the protectionism. So, idea of free trade is against protectionism. There are many advantages of the free trade. The first great advantage of the free trade is that it is providing a country the opportunity to specialize in the production of the goods which it can most efficiently produce. In other words, it gives the opportunity to a state to specialize in the production of goods to specialize in a particular line of production. For example, suppose a country can produce agricultural products in the most efficient manner, then it must specialize in the production of agricultural products. So, this is one advantage, great advantage of the free trade, principle of free trade, or the idea of free trade. A second important advantage is that consumers across the world, they get quality products at the competitive price. Third important point is that free trade make us realize that trade is always better, that international trade is always better than no trade. Free trade is always better than no trade. And the important point to note is that trade between states is benefiting both exporting as well as importing country. It is not that only the exporting country is at the advantage. It is also the importing country which is also at the advantage. So trade, international trade, is in the benefit of both the countries, exporting as well as importing. I am emphasizing this point because I want to remove the biases towards the free trade, because sometimes we find that countries are indulging in the policies of they are relying on the model of the protectionist model, or you can say the protectionism, under which they impose heavy duties on the import from the outside. Such we have seen, we are now witnessing the trade war between China and the United States of America. So this is one thing, and there is one more advantage to which I should point out. I want to point out that, and why basically we develop a system of free trade in the form of the WTO, and earlier it was GATT. Why we established, we adopted General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade in 1947. The point is that time, after Second World War or during Second World War, it was realized by many thinking minds that free trade is necessary for improving the relations between states, and by focusing on the free trade, we can avoid war between two states. By free trade, we can bring peace to the society of nations. So not only free trade is advantageous in terms of, in economic terms, not only it has brought prosperity to the world, it has also brought peace to the mankind. But there is also one disadvantage of the free trade, towards which let me indicate, and that is that free trade, since free trade has made it possible that a country can be totally dependent on the foreign goods. So what happens that by that way the country is eliminating local products. A country becomes totally dependent on the foreign product. So when a country becomes totally dependent on the foreign product, then it is destroying its domestic industry. And when it is destroying the domestic industry, then that country becomes most vulnerable when we are facing a crisis like this pandemic. So it is this disadvantage of free trade that now the policy makers around the world, now there is the call from certain quarters that we need to be self-reliant in the production of key products. We should be self-sufficient in the production of certain key products, or medical products, or you can say food products. We should not be dependent on the supply of goods from outside. This is the lesson which we have learned from this pandemic. Now I am going to tell you that why free trade has been so attractive to the states. Here I want to draw your attention to two theories of free trade, and those which are known as the classical theories. One theory developed by Adam Smith, known as the theory of absolute advantage, and another theory developed by another noted economist, David Ricardo, known as the theory of comparative advantage. First I will discuss the theory of absolute advantage as developed by Adam Smith. In the middle of the 18th century, Adam Smith developed the theory of absolute advantage, and according to that theory, a country should specialize in the production of goods in which it has absolute advantage. For example, if a country has absolute advantage in respect of the production of wheat, so it must focus, and it should only focus on the production of wheat. It should not focus on the production of suppose cloth. So that is the theory. Of absolute advantage. So according to Adam Smith, that international trade is always better than no trade. Earlier, before this theory of Adam Smith, the thinking was that only export is good and import is bad. Earlier, the countries believed that one country is gaining advantage at the cost of the other. Means one country becomes prosperous only when the other country when one country becomes prosperous at the cost of another country. So it means that earlier thinking was that if I am gaining, it means you are losing. So, but Adam Smith told no. This belief is misleading, and according to Adam Smith, that even importing country is at the advantage, because you ultimately will find that a country's export is dependent on the import also. So dependent on the import. So according to Adam Smith brought home the point that international trade is always better because it gives a state the opportunity to specialize in the production of goods in which it has absolute advantage. This theory of absolute advantage was carried further by and it was indeed defined by David Ricardo. David Ricardo gave the theory of comparative advantage, and he said that instead of absolute advantage, we should focus on comparative advantage. We should look into consideration comparative advantage. David Ricardo says that the country should specialize in the production of goods in which it has comparative advantage as against the absolute advantage, while Adam Smith was saying that we should focus on the production of goods in which we have absolute advantage. David Ricardo is saying we should concentrate on the production of goods in which we have not, although we do not have absolute advantage, but still we should focus on the production of goods in which we have comparative advantage. So what is the difference between absolute advantage and what is the difference between comparative advantage? Let me explain it. That on the basis of one example, and that example is a very interesting example, and that example was used by David Ricardo himself. And David Ricardo is giving this example, and then he is suggesting that how he is explaining what is the comparative advantage. Now I am introducing that example before you. Now say, suppose Britain is manufacturing a certain quantity of cloth by using the workforce of 1200 people, and Portugal is producing the same quantity of cloth by using the laborers by using 1000 laborers. So further suppose further that Britain is producing wine by by making use of 900 laborers, and Portugal is producing the same quantity of wine by making use of only 800 workers. Now look at the example. I am repeating. Britain is producing cloth using 1200 workers, and the same quantity of cloth is produced by Portugal using only 1000 workers. Similarly, in respect of wine, a certain quantity of wine is produced by Britain by using 900 workers, and the same quantity of wine is produced by Portugal using only 800 people. Now, if we go by the theory of absolute advantage as advanced by Adam Smith, then we should say that it is Portugal which should be exporting both cloths as well as wine, because it has absolute advantage in not only in the production of cloth but also in the production of wine, in comparison to, means when we compare the situation of when we are focusing on the bilateral trade and when we compare Portugal with Britain. But the interesting thing is that in this example, that Ricardo says that no, it is Britain which should export cloth to Portugal, and Portugal should export wine to Britain. So what David Ricardo is saying, that time there was also, this is not simply a hypothetical example, actually this was happening at that time, that Britain was producing cloth at a very large scale and after industrial revolution. So what happens that what Ricardo is saying, that Britain should export cloth to Portugal and Portugal should export wine to Britain. So now the question arises, why Ricardo is saying when Portugal is better in production of both the goods, cloth as well as wine, so why he is saying that still Portugal should export only wine and it should import cloth from Britain? Ricardo gives the answer. Ricardo says that look, in which sector Portugal has comparative advantage. And Ricardo says, since although it is better in both in respect of production of both the goods, but still Portugal is better in producing wine in comparison to cloth, because in producing wine it is using the workforce of only 800 people, while in producing cloth it is using the workforce of 1000 persons. So although it has absolute advantage in respect of production of both the goods, but still it is better off in respect of production of wine. So it is better for Portugal to concentrate only on the production of wine, and it is still profitable for Portugal if it is focusing only on the production of wine and it is importing cloth from Britain, because in that way what David Ricardo says, that both countries are benefiting. When Britain is also benefiting, Portugal is also benefiting, because Portugal is not losing anything, because if it is focusing on production of wine only, because still it is better. So now the difference, now you ask what is the difference between absolute advantage theory and David Ricardo theory. I am saying that theory of David Ricardo is more defined. Why it is more defined? That it is looking at the sector of production, while David Ricardo is looking at the factors of production across the country. David Ricardo is looking on the sectors and he has adopted a cross-sectoral approach, and he's looking that in this sector a country has in this sector a country has comparative or relative advantage or comparative advantage. It is this idea. There are more theories, but I am not. I this short time it is not possible for me to discuss all the theories of international trade or theories of economics. But although briefly I can refer to one more theory, and that is the modern theory, you can say neoclassical theory, and that is known as the international product life cycle theory. According to this international product life cycle theory, a product passes through many ages, many stages. For example, it passes through the stage of birth, then early childhood, then adolescence, and finally it reaches the age of decline. And this theory says that that product is first product originates first in the developed country, and its next user is another developed country, and it is in the stage of decline that the product is reaching the developing country. And this theory is also this explains why most of the trade still takes place between the developed countries, and that's so why trade is important for all the countries. So important thing now the important thing is that the theory of absolute advantage given by Adam Smith, or theory of comparative advantage given by David Ricardo, it inspired the nations after Second World War to establish a multilateral trading system, and they adopted in 1947 an agreement which is known as the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT 1947. But there was also that time there was the attempt was made to establish an organization also, but that attempt failed, and only the countries were able to adopt an agreement known as the GATT 1947. But in 1995, in 1994, a Marquess Agreement was adopted, and then the World Trade Organization was established in 1990, which came into effect from 1995. And an agreement GATT 1994 was adopted, and WTO agreement was adopted, and as part of WTO agreement, the old GATT 1947 together with certain amendments it was adopted as a part of the WTO agreement. So now, what is difference between the earlier GATT and what is the new GATT, the new WTO agreement that was adopted in 1995, and also one organization was established known as the World Trade Organization. The difference is that the new system, the new WTO system, earlier system was GATT system, and new system is the WTO system. The WTO system presupposes more integrated society, or it presupposes very close integration between economies. So why it presupposes and why it has brought the economies closer than the previous regime? The reason is that under this new agreement, under the new system, the you can say the scope of world trade became very wide. And not only it included the trade in goods, but it also included the trade in services and trade in intellectual property. So, and also now this new WTO agreement, not only it contains the earlier GATT, but it also contains agreement on services, that is known as the General Agreement on Trade in Services, and it also contains TRIPS agreement. GATT agreement is contained in Annex 1 of the WTO agreement, and GATT is contained in Annex 2, and all the agreements they are contained in Annex 1 of the WTO agreement. So what I want to suggest is that the new system is more integrated system, and as it is more integrated system, so this time as a result of that we are more vulnerable, particularly when we are facing a situation like the outbreak of the pandemic, which which we are now facing. So my point is that now we should rethink this model of free trade, that although free trade is good and it is important for maintaining relations between its states, and as a matter of fact, I am telling you that the free trade actually, it has, as a result of free trade, the world as a whole has prospered. So if we compare the world at the time of 1947 and we compare the world in 2020, we find that we have now prospered manyfold, and now it has brought also it has been very, it has played a key role in raising the living standards of people across the world, and it has also been a key factor in giving employment to a large number of people. So world free trade is a very good idea, but the time has come that we need to rethink the system, in the sense that we want to make the system which is more sensitive to the growth of domestic industry. Because free trade, what happens that in the present system of the WTO, that although under the WTO agreement the developing countries have been given certain preferential treatment, but those are not sufficient, and they are not really, you can say, conducive for the growth of domestic industry. So in the light of that, we need to rethink the principle of free trade. Now I am going to tell you in brief the meaning of fair trade. What is fair? If this is free trade, then what is fair trade? Actually, fair trade says that trade should not only be free, but it should also be fair. Then another question arises, what is the meaning of fair? Fair means that trade should not, international trade or free trade should not undermine values which are not purely economic. In other words, the free trade should not undermine environmental values and environmental standards and labor standards. So it should be respecting our environmental concerns, it should be respecting our labor concerns. So the point is that free trade in itself does not give the complete picture unless it is supplemented by the idea of fair trade. And although the term fair trade is not used in the WTO agreement, but if you look at the WTO provisions of the WTO agreement, and we look especially at the preamble of the WTO agreement, it clearly says that thus this system, multilateral trade system, is built to promote the principle of sustainable development. And according to principle of sustainable development, as the Rio Declaration on Environment and Development says, that according to the principle of sustainable development, it is the human being who should be at the center of concern. So with these words now I am finishing my lecture. I hope you will like it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your lecture. Now I invite Dr. Raju Maji for the formal vote of thanks.
Very good evening to one and all. Honorable Distinguished Speaker, Professor Ajendra Srivastava, Honorable Head and Dean, Professor R.P. Rai sir, distinguished guests, learned faculty members, dear students, participants, attendees, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of Law School, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, and on my own behalf, extend my hearty vote of thanks to our distinguished speaker, Professor Ajendra Srivastava sir, who has agreed to deliver a lecture on this very prestigious platform under Current Law Forum, Law School, Banaras Hindu University. Sir, we are very much thankful to you. Sir, the topic is very relevant in the contemporary time, particularly where the world community is going through the entire lockdown process due to rapid spread of COVID-19 pandemic. Sir, the topic which you have chosen, the topic free and fair trade in this contemporary context, looking ahead is always been very debatable and controversial. So there is a debate between the developed countries and the developing countries and the least developed countries. But at the same time, the things of free trade has been taken in a different shape in the globalized era. So, as you have said, the fair trade is a very important as far as concerned the globalization, and some of the developed countries that have put forward in a different way, and they said the fair trade is an alternative approach to conventional international trade. It is a trading partnership which aims at sustainable development for excluded and disadvantaged producers. It seeks to do this by providing better trading conditions, by awareness rising, and by campaigning. And the developed countries, they have advocated in the different way, and they were put forward that it's a very benefit by saying that the advocates in that way, it says that to improve the livelihoods and well-being of producers by improving market access, strengthening producers organizations, paying a better price, and providing continuity in the trading relationship. Not only that, they also advocates that it promotes the development opportunities for the disadvantaged producers, especially women and indigenous people, and to pocket children from exploitations in the productions process. Not only that, they also advocates that to raise awareness among consumers of the negative effects on producers of international trade so that they exercise their purchasing power positively. Apart from that, they try to set an example of partnership in trade through dialogue, transparency, and respect. At the same time, sir, you have said the many things that how the multinational trade or the multinational corporations will do their business in this global era, in this globalization market. At the same time that you have also discussed the many things regarding that you have discussed about the various free trade organizations. At the same time, you have also discussed at length that what are the you can say the implications, the impact of the WTO in free and fair trade in the present and the contemporary period. No doubt, sir, that the globalization's era, one way, the globalization market, one way gives an opportunity, the fair opportunity, but at the same time, the developing countries, can they stand in these same conditions? So there are so many questions, and these questions which you have dealt in a very simple way. No doubt it was a very wonderful lecture, sir, and I hope that through these lectures, our attendees, our the research scholars, the faculty members, they will get a new path to do some research work on this particular topic. Sir, this very controversial issue, but it is your efforts that you have presented in a very simple way and in a very convenient way, so that each and everyone, those who have attended, they can understand, they can grasp in a very easiest way. Once again, sir, thank you very much, sir, that you have given your time, valuable time, and you have agreed to deliver a lecture on this very significant and very challenging topic. Once again, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our Honorable Dean, Professor R.P. Rai, sir. Sir, we are very much thankful to you that you always extend all sorts of supports to organize this event. It is your keen interest, sir. It is your dedications, it is your devotions, it is your encouragement that we are able to organize such kind of events from time to time. And sir, whenever we need your support, you always come forward, and we extend all sorts of support to organize any kind of academic events. Sir, we are very much thankful to you, and we hope that you will continue your blessings with us in near future also, sir. Once again, thank you very much, sir. It's my privilege to extend my heartfelt thanks to our honorable distinguished faculty members that you have expended your time with us, and you have extended all sorts of supports. You have always motivated us to organize such kind of program. So thank you very much, sir. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to all the distinguished members of the Current Law Forum that they have extended their enormous support to make this event the great success. Thank you very much, sir. I must extend my heartfelt thanks to all the participant attendees, that is students, guests, ladies and gentlemen, that you have expend your valuable time with us. Thank you very much. At the last but not the least, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Professor Rajneesh Kumar Patel, that it is his efforts, it is his interest that he has given this opportunity of being a coordinator of the seminar, convener of the seminar committee. We are able to organize such kind of program, and he is the founding pillar, the structure of this program. Sir, we are very much thankful to you that you make this event and you help us to assemble in this program. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to state that we are all most grateful to you all. We thank you for being with us this evening. It has been a great pleasure. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.